Hello, kids. Good afternoon and welcome in. It is the Matt Murphy Radio Show underway for another day. Conveniently, my name is Matt Murphy, and we'll be here until 3 o'clock this afternoon. When I say we, I mean me. I hope you're able to spend the entire time with us, whether it's 5 minutes or the full 3 hours. We thank you for your time and consideration. We begin the Libertarian Lunchtime Hour at 12:07 by saying good afternoon and welcoming you to the show, introducing you to the players that you might hear from time to time over the course of the next 3 hours, and prepare ourselves to inform you on the cornucopia of topic selections that we have before us to discuss with the masses. That's you, not the dumb masses. Just the masses. The dumb masses watch MSNBC and that sort of ilk. Speaking of dumb masses, Jeff Malinoff is subbing in for Bel K today. He's making sure that everything happens as it should on the other side of the glass, pushing the blinky buttons, as they say, and generally speaking, finding your speakers are full of Matt Murphy, and I thank him for that. More with Malinoff in a moment. Ken Weaver is filling us with information from the news closet. He is back in position to deliver news twice an hour or whenever it breaks, and we appreciate him. I expect that Weaver has a mouthful of Chex Mix right now, unless he is saving it for his family. One way or the other, we will be with you until 3, and the drive with Brian Wilson starts then. It is Wednesday, September 18, 2024. Am I wrong here? Someone on the MembersNutrition.com super text line tell me, because I heard someone said it was 47 days to go until the election. I had it at 48. I wrote it down on my sheet that I prepare on a daily basis. Right there it is for those of you watching on Super Talk TV. I had it at 48 days to go before the election. But maybe it's 47. Malinoff, you got something in there, KGB? You've got the 911.
The official date is Tuesday, November 5th. So I will do the math on that.
Well, I know that it's November 5th, Malinoff.
I said I'm going to do the math on it.
Okay, well, you should get back to us, what, about 2:30 or so? What are we talking about? By the way, I shouldn't give you hell. I made you do manual labor today. And I appreciate your assistance with the manual labor. I brought, because it is a chair graveyard around these parts, I brought a chair for our new green room. You like that chair?
It wasn't.
Tell everybody what you called it.
It is a classic dad's office chair.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I sent it over.
I'm sitting it right now.
Hey, Weaver.
Did you steal it?
What's going on? It's over in the green room. Go sit in that thing over. You know our little green room thing that we got when New Suit took over?
Is that where the magic is made?
That is where the magic happens, I'm told. But the magic was happening. The magic was happening with one chair in that entire office, and so I felt like we needed a new chair. I was about to get rid of this one, and I thought, why not bring it to the chair graveyard that is Super Talk 99.7 WTN?
Well, I tell you what I'm going to bring.
What do you got?
For some strange reason, I got a Southern Living magazine in the mail on Monday. So I'm going to bring a little table, and I'm going to sit that magazine on it. So if you're in the green room and you're waiting on Johnny B to finish or whomever, you can just peruse through Southern Living.
Oh yeah, you're waiting on your big interview with Dan Mandis in Nashville's Morning News.
Yes, sir.
You're anxiously anticipating what Mandis might throw at you, and you thumb your way through a Southern Living magazine. Oh, look at these housing. Oh, they're ready for me? Okay, all right.
I do have the day, how many days till the election. It's 47.
Malinoff, would you settle down? Weaver and I are talking about decorating the green room. Just calm down. We got 3 full hours. I know you're excited about your date last night.
I was just giving you the answer that you were clamming for.
I hope you did not jump early last night like you did just then. I'm hoping that it
went great.
How did things go last night?
It went great. It went nice. It was a very nice date. Weather was great. Food was good.
My wife tells me that I should not continue to call you KGB, by the way.
You better listen to what Erica says, dude.
You know what she says that your nickname should be? I don't like it.
That means it's good. What is it?
Malware.
Never mind.
I told her, I said, would you leave this to the professionals? It's malware?
That means like I'm a problem in this sense.
Well, I mean, no, in concept it works. I just think it's a little clunky in performance. Malware. No.
I don't think that's going to work.
I don't think it works. I think KGB works much better. But anyway, no, we need your Southern Living magazine. I'll bring in Weaver, the only magazine that I continue to watch, I flip through.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're a magazine guy or ever have been.
I used to get Sports Illustrated.
Yeah, I did too. Back in the day when, what was his name? Rick Riley wrote the final column on the last page. I used to love reading that column. I used to love Sports Illustrated when it came in the mail weekly.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'd wait for it.
Oh, yes.
I'd anticipate it to see if I could see pictures of my favorite players.
Oh, man. Those were the days.
I wasn't much into reading.
Kids, back in the days, what they used to do for you youngsters listening to the Matt Murphy Show right now, and Mr. Ken and Mr. Matt talking, what they used to do is they used to take the internet and print it out for you and send it to your home.
Yes. Yeah. You didn't have to open your phone and search for it.
No.
Things didn't come to you immediately.
No.
You got to wait days for it.
Yeah.
And it was fun.
I love telling this story because I think it perfectly illustrates how time has changed in our time in media circles, Ken. There was back when The Daily Show was actually good, way back in the day. I think this might have even predated Jon Stewart. There was a clip on The Daily Show where someone was interviewing the chief editor of the Washington Post. And the guy says, "Sir, I am holding in my right hand a copy of today's Washington Post." And the editor says, "Yes." And he goes, "Can you show me one thing in this newspaper that happened today?" And he was like, "Well, no." But, I mean, and the moment was intended to be humorous, but it illustrated how times have changed. There was a time, youngsters, where you had to wait till tomorrow to figure out what happened today.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Well, and so did all the mainstream media networks.
Oh, yes.
Because even to this day, they pretty much follow, these newspapers. But now with the onset of social media, the newspapers are actually following what's on social media a lot of the time. But yeah, back in the day, everything you saw in the evening news was really on the paper that you got in the morning.
I remember talking early on in my talk career in Montgomery, Alabama, talking to people that lived through Pearl Harbor and told stories about when they found out about Pearl Harbor, and it was, in some cases, days later.
Right.
Right? I mean, and now we find out these things instantaneously, like Hezbollah and Israel and the Mossad overseas this morning, another counterterrorism assault. We found out this morning, and Ken Weaver was on top of this story and on top of uncovering the truth on this story. We had this story coming out of Long Island, where these, I guess, there was a suspicious vehicle. Is that right, Ken?
Yeah, there was. Yeah, what police are calling it now is there was a suspicious incident. Mm-hmm. But a reporter claimed he was told by law enforcement, one of the agents there on the scene, that it was a possible explosive device in a vehicle. That turned out, according to Nassau County Police, that turned out to be false. However, there was a suspicious incident, which they were not commenting on. They did say that everybody's safe. Former President Trump is safe. The rally site is safe. And that includes the people that have been lining up to see the former president tonight since last night.
What? Since last night?
Yeah, people were camping there last night.
You cannot tell me this enthusiasm is not real and organic and everything else on the other side is fake. And that is a political conversation that we're going to have a little bit later on in the show. But before we get too far away from it, Weaver, we have super texters that are offering their magazines to add to your Southern Living magazine. I'm going to add a couple of in my collection of Garden and Gun. By the way, Garden and Gun is a fabulous magazine. And people laugh every time I say it, but it is fun.
I catch you kids eating my strawberries again, I'm going to shoot you.
Don't make me pull out my over-under on them peaches. I'll do it. I'll do it. If you boys traipse through my hydrangeas one more time, I'm going to whip out the .22 rifle.
The 22.
Take a couple shots around them little toes.
Single shot.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Little bolt action.
Oh, Garden Gun's great. I love Garden Gun. We'll have a little magazine selection. And no 0552. Hustler doesn't count.
No.
We're trying to be on the up and up over here. No, we can't have any of that. Although I will take Trevor writes in and says, I've got some 1970s flying magazines. What does that mean? You mean fly fishing? Now, if you've got fly fishing magazines, woo. Back in the day, kids, in all seriousness, and I didn't mean to talk about this today, there was a magazine for everybody, for every taste, for every hobbyist that exists. There was a magazine for you. If you were into the weirdest thing imaginable, if you liked, I don't know, the antique art of canoe making in the old school way, there was a magazine for you to show you how to do that. It was now we call that the internet and YouTube. But back in the day, there were magazines for everybody. Anyway, yes, High Times Magazine is one of those that I would put in those categories. 86.95. I appreciate you guys elevating the comfort.
That's some good reading right there.
Well, I mean, yeah, I never could get through it. I
ended up getting distracted.
I would always get distracted and end up in the kitchen looking for something to eat. You know what I mean?
And that's where Southern Living came in handy.
That's right. Well, look, we can fix some of this peach cobbler on page 82.
Let's see. Pour bacon grease on your tots.
Whoa, my word. I've been living like an animal all this time. Hold on, before I finish my kitchen duties, I need to go back in here and read some more of this High Times.
This is where my career has taken me to this moment.
That's true.
I worked 10 years in radio to be here for this moment. Actually, 11 years.
Congratulations. Congratulations. It's really the zenith of my career. Honestly. All right, so you got to laugh. Come on, you got to laugh. I mean, we're living in crazy times.
Yes, sir.
It is crazy times. And the craziness continues overseas. Obviously, by now, Ken Weaver in the newsroom has reported, Joan Jones before him. We've been reporting all day long, live and local conversation regarding what is happening in the second wave of counterterrorism attacks against the terrorist organization known as Hezbollah. How long before the mainstream media networks stop reminding you that Hezbollah is a terrorist organization? Obviously, we now know with a fair amount of confirmation, not even a fair amount of confirmation, it's been confirmed from multiple sources, including a senior U.S. official, that Israel is in fact behind the Lebanon pager attacks. By the way, I would not wait. I was thinking this on the way in here today, Ken.
Yeah.
I would not want to be you today. I mean, I would pale in comparison any day. And you're so good at what you do. Award-winning, everyone. And I'm going to say that even though Ken won't. Award-winning journalist over there in the newsroom. But you're doing this local story about Lebanon?
Yes. Yes, there's a local story about Lebanon today.
And then there's an international story about?
Lebanon. And you have to make the difference.
I know. Well, I know.
Gotta do it.
If you don't, they will come at you, bro. I learned that like day 2.
You better throw those walkie-talkies away over there in Lebanon.
I'm just imagining, are there Radio Shacks anymore? I'm imagining somebody running into the Lebanon radio. Yo, guys, Ken Weaver on Super Talk said, we better get rid of these walkie-talkies.
Hide your razor phones.
Ken Weaver said walkie-talkies are exploding in Wilson County.
In Lebanon. I think Weaver
Radio
said.
Shack still think I got to look this up now.
Lebanon. I don't think they are.
Yeah,
I don't.
The explosions are in Lebanon. And, there was another sad story about some remains being found in Lebanon. Human remains.
You were doing the story on the way in, and I was like, man, today's not the day.
Yeah.
I first got to Montgomery, Alabama. I was 27 years old, and I was doing the news, Ken. Afternoon news. I produced a morning news show.
Way to go.
And I was doing afternoon news on all of the properties. It happened to be owned by Cumulus Broadcasting.
I know
and then
about
I went
that.
away for a little while and came back. But I got fired, actually, and then I came back. So
That's a perfect radio story.
Oh no, they 3 months later they get out of here. But I did get to tell that guy no to a job offer that he made me like 7 months later. How about that? That felt really good.
What do you think about that?
So ARAB, Ken.
ARAB.
Yes.
Arab.
Right? Arab. Well, in Alabama, that's a town in Alabama.
Oh.
And that is Arab. And let me assure you, if you are a 27-year-old newsman in Montgomery, Alabama, and you're doing a story about Arab and you pronounce it Arab, the phones will ring.
Yeah.
They will light up, bro. They don't like it.
You should have done news in New Mexico. Let me tell you something.
I don't know.
I had people calling me. I mean, they were ready to fight me because I was mispronouncing so many names.
It's Ruidoso.
There's this one church. It's called El Santuario de Chimayo.
Oh, Lord.
And my word, every Easter, it is a thing. And, oh, my goodness, the 2 Easters I reported the news there in Albuquerque. People, they were not very Christ-like. Let's just say that.
Everyone, let's remember the season. Let's remember.
Where's this guy from? Oklahoma. Figures.
So, all right, you got a pen in there handy, Ken? I want to do this. This is my favorite, and
I got it.
As the Lord is my witness, this is true. My first job was at WTWA, your favorite easy listening hits from the 40s to the 80s, the heart of Thompson. Yes. WTWA was a full-service 1,000-watt AM radio station. They played the hits. They slung Count Basie and Simon and Garfunkel, baby. And in between that, they played mutual news at the top of the hour, local news at the bottom of the hour. They had the obituaries right after the local news. I'm telling you.
I did that.
I did the swap shop when I was 16 years old. That was a big deal on Saturday mornings, 30 minutes of the swap shop. You know what the swap shop is, young man, young KGB?
I don't.
It's where people called radio stations and they sold their crap. It was like a yard sale on radio.
Yes, sir.
It was brilliant.
This is Carl. Over here, we're over here on the East End. I got some old used handkerchiefs. I'll let go for 50 cents a piece.
Okay, Carl. What's the telephone number? We'll get people to call you up. So, no, I had a woman. I can still remember this. Ken, I remember this like it was yesterday. A woman called every day, and she would say the same thing. She would say, hello there, I got a number of items for sale. I'm just doing her accent. This is her accent. Hello there, I got a number of items for sale. I got pantsuits. I got coat suits. I got Tams made by hand, and I got 2 old bicycles, and one of them is an 18-wheeler. And if you call, and she called it an 18-wheeler.
Yes, sir.
It was 18 speed, but she called it, it was 18-wheeler. And if you call 465-3470, thank you, bye-bye. She did it, 465-3470. That was the telephone number.
Love it.
But I was 16 years old, and she did it every week. One time, I corrected her, and it got her so off her game. She was like 18-wheeler. I said, ma'am, you mean an 18 speed? And she paused and went, if you want any of this, call. And then she couldn't remember her number. I threw her out. She was like, it's 4. And I said, 465-3470. Okay, bye-bye. All right, here's it. Real quick, I know we got to go. Taliaferro is a county in Georgia. Taliaferro.
Taliaferro.
That's exactly what I went with, Ken. That's what young Murphy went with. You know how that county is pronounced, Ken?
Talfaro?
Tolliver. I'm like,
That's not even close.
y'all, you rednecks aren't even trying. There's an O at the, well, we don't pronounce that. Tolliver. Like, there's an F. It's not even a V. It's Tolliver. Okay. All right.
Oh.
It's Lebanon. And it's, by the way, hearkening back to my first month in Nashville, Tennessee, it's not Maury County.
No.
It's Murray County.
Murray
County. 25 after the hour. I'm very late. I apologize, KGB, and to everyone else, including Kim Weaver, who probably won't get to do a news tease. He'll probably just go right to the news on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. You know, the Tennessean described him as a conservative advocacy podcast. I don't know if they meant that as a compliment, but Steve Abramowitz and Heartland Journal certainly took it as said same, and I would take it as that as well. Steve Abramowitz came to Middle Tennessee years ago, and he cranked up Heartland Journal, recognizing that there was a lack of conversation going on, a lack of conservative journalism going on in Middle Tennessee, and he has filled that void. You can find his podcast page on Deezer, iTunes, iHeart, Spotify, and all of your favorite podcast apps. It is fabulous. You occasionally will see Murphy on there. Matt Murphy has made multiple appearances on the Heartland Journal podcast. Plus, they've obviously got a website available for you with new news and information right there. The editor-in-chief of the Heartland Journal is Steve Abramowitz, and on the regular, he's presenting new podcasts from artists and cultural figures, entertainment figures, sports figures, political figures, all the like can be found at heartlandjournal.com. That's heartlandjournal.com.
The Guaranteed Offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
.30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Nassau County Police in New York say there was no explosive device found near where former President Trump will rally tonight. They say there was a suspicious incident, but not a bomb this morning. They say everyone is safe. It's like tailgating before a football game there in Long Island where the former President Trump rallies tonight. It starts at 7, but people started getting in line last night to get a good seat. Another round of explosions in Lebanon, a day after exploding pagers killed at least 12 people and injured thousands more in an attack targeting Hezbollah. Here is what happened at the funeral in Beirut for 4 people killed in yesterday's pager explosions. Sources telling ABC News Israel was responsible for the pager explosions. Today's explosions came from handheld communication devices, walkie-talkies, which Hezbollah uses to communicate. And the Federal Reserve expected to cut interest rates today for the first time in 4 years. This major milestone in the fight against inflation comes as current interest rates are the highest they've been in more than 2 decades. Here's Elizabeth Schulze.
This is just the beginning of a series of interest rates cuts that will make the cost of borrowing money at least a little bit less expensive. So that applies to everything from your mortgages to a new car loan to a credit card debt. It also makes it less expensive for businesses to take out loans. That's a big deal because that could help keep hiring up in the economy. If consumers are still out spending and businesses are out hiring, that is exactly what the Federal Reserve wants to see as it's now looking kind of past this inflation fight to try to preserve this strength overall in the economy and the jobs market.
Yeah, so we expect to get the announcement next hour. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hello, friends. Matt Murphy here for the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief. Anywhere within the sound of my voice, it is worth the trip to Franklin, Tennessee, where the Dr. Gill Center has called home for the last 30-plus years. Dr. Gill has employed a team approach to helping you because he never wants to turn anyone away for a lack of an appointment, and he understands that the more the better when it comes to chiropractic care. He wants to maximize his ability to take care of what ails you. And if it's neck pain, knee pain, hip pain, elbow pain, it all can be treated at the Dr. Gill Center. And then there is back pain. For most of us, if you live to a certain age, you're going to experience some form of back pain in your life. If it becomes regular and debilitating, if you find yourself popping pills to avoid the pain or considering shots to block the pain or even surgery, go to the Dr. Gill Center and allow them to employ their spinal decompression and other technologies that can alleviate that pain. Your first to treatment, full x-rays, full appointment schedule, full examination is only $49. Give them a call at 615-882-4838, 882-4838, the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief in Franklin. Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com. Hello, friends. It's Matt Murphy for Men of Valor. Men of Valor is a wonderful charitable organization here in Middle Tennessee, throughout the state of Tennessee, as a matter of fact. And the work that they do is truly God's work. You might have heard the statistic that over 90% of men in prison will eventually be getting out of prison. What type of men do you want them to be? Do you want them to be men committed to a life of crime, determined on recidivism? Or do you want them to be men that have found a better way in society? Through God's grace, Men of Valor identifies men that are ready for that change in their lives, and they employ that change within the prison system before they get out. Through their job partners and Bible study teachers, mentors that discipline, or I should say disciple men on a daily basis and in their everyday lives, Men of Valor truly does change lives. And they have an opportunity for you to meet the one and only Tim Tebow. He's coming to town October 1st for an event at 5:30 at Rocketown here in the heart of Tennessee, in Nashville, Tennessee. There's another event happening October 2nd in Knoxville. Find out about these and more about Men of Valor at movministry.com. That's movministry.com. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. All right, let's get to it. Matt Murphy Show in progress. Libertarian Lunch in progress. Would love to hear from you. 615-737-9986. 615-737-9986. By now, this Wednesday, we have established that the media's coverage over the second assassination attempt on Donald Trump has gone full-on anti-Donald Trump. I would suggest to you that on this Locks for Trump Day 2. By the way, it's Locks for Trump Day. Can I get a horn? You got a horn over there on the I know you do. Bell has it at the ready. It's like our announcement horn. It's a big time. Bam, bam, bam. I don't know how he labels things over there. Locks for Trump Day 200, where I have spent 200 days growing out my hair in a belief that we will have a brand new president. It's fine if you can't. I just did it. It's just a horn. It's
he names it all. So there's so many here. It's overwhelming.
Yeah, no, that's all good, Malinoff. Locks for Trump Day 200. It's also our episode 654. I did not get to that earlier in the show because we started talking about Lebanon and Lebanon. But it's day number 654 of our gatherings here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. You can find us on, obviously, the radio dial. You can find us on anywhere you stream news or information. We're there. And we're also on Super Talk TV, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. Super Talk TV is up and running. Episode 654 is entitled there, Malinoff?
Yes, it's Matt Murphy is the Truth Seeker in theaters Friday.
Oh, how about that? I did not know I was going up on the big screen.
Yeah.
Apparently that's the case. So the media's coverage of Donald Trump, and more specifically the assassination attempts against Donald Trump, has become the real threat to America. They are what they claim to hate. They suggest to you that democracy is on the ballot, when in fact democracy is your vote. Democracy in that way, and I use their term just to simplify this conversation. I understand that we're a representative republic, which is a form of indirect democracy. There are two forms of democracy: direct democracy, which is what we most commonly refer to when we talk about democracy, and indirect democracy. Forms of indirect democracy would be representative republic, constitutional republic, constitutional monarchy. These are all forms of indirect democracy, so don't come at me telling me we're not a democracy. We actually are a democracy, but we are a specific form of democracy that believes in the rule of law, indirect democracy, versus the rule of the mob, direct democracy. Everybody understand that? Okay, good. But using their own terms in ways that they understand it, they like to claim that democracy is on the ballot. What does that mean? Democracy is the ballot. Democracy is the ballot. And now they're telling us, they being the precious liberals that we see on a nightly basis on the talking head news shows, the mainstream media, ABC, NBC, CBS, the rest of the alphabet soups, plus hashtag never CNN, garbage network full of garbage people. Don't watch, I'll watch too, you don't have to. They dismiss the rhetoric on the left as just normal everyday conversation And anything that we talk about on the right, they accuse us of inspiring some sort of violence or whatnot because rules are for thee and not for me, according to the liberals. But furthering the conversation that we had this past Monday, no matter how much you hate Donald Trump, you should perish the thought of any violence coming to him, any further violence coming to him. It's almost, if I didn't know any better, guys, if I didn't know any better, it's almost as if they want it. Oh, but I know better. They wouldn't want that to happen, would they? They wouldn't want violence to fall on Donald Trump. That's not the reason that they immediately blame him for a nut job leftist attempting to kill him. That's why they seemingly have no interest in digging into the broader narrative as to what happened to allow Butler, Pennsylvania to occur. That's why they seem to have no interest in toning down their rhetoric. Hillary Clinton was on the Rachel Mancow show. Did I say that wrong? That's one of those pronunciations that I get wrong all the time. Anyway, Hillary Clinton was on the Rachel Mancow show on MSNBC the day after someone tried to kill Donald Trump and said that he was an existential threat to democracy and that we're not going after him enough and that we're not attacking him enough. I could play you the clip, but it's lunchtime and I don't want to hear the screeching. And I don't think you do either. Everything they say sets up a nutter to commit acts of violence against this man because they dehumanize him every opportunity they get. They characterize him as more dangerous than Adolf Hitler every opportunity they get. And they become the threat to democracy because they know very well what would happen should violence fall at the feet of Donald Trump. Or, God forbid, something worse. I don't want to verbalize the thoughts that you're all having right now. I do not want any violence whatsoever to come to Joe Biden. I do not want any violence whatsoever to come to Kamala Harris. And I do not believe that no matter how awful, god-awful, or inexplicable, unexplainable things that she says on the campaign trail might be, none of that merits elevating this to physical violence. None of it. Now, if someone that is so disgusted by Kamala Harris can clearly and plainly say that to you on one of the most listened to talk radio shows and stations, not shows, stations in the United States of America, I wouldn't presume that my station. If I can clearly define where the line is, why is it so difficult for the mainstream media to do so? Now, compare this to their treatment of Springfield, Ohio. So nothing that Kamala Harris says has any impact on how nut jobs are reacting. There's only one political party that's getting physically attacked. There's only one political party where assassination attempts are happening, right? So that's your first clue that maybe one of these things is not like the other. And in Springfield, Ohio, we're told that we're no longer allowed to criticize illegal immigration because if we do, we're racist. And that we're putting these people in harm's way or in danger. What? Explain that to me again. In the aftermath of the multiple media reports of the possibility that the Haitian migrants who have descended upon Springfield, Ohio, inexplicably, or at least it's yet to be explained in a capacity where I understand it, no one is saying anything about how they got there. How did they get there? Anybody? How did all of these Haitian migrants happened to descend upon Springfield, Ohio. How did all of these Haitians happen to get to Sylacauga, Alabama? Oh, you haven't heard about Sylacauga yet? You will today. How did they get there? In Sylacauga, Alabama, they shut down a city council meeting because someone spoke against the illegal alien activity happening in their town. That was last week. They had another one last night. It descended into chaos in as much as individuals at that gathering wanted to know where all of these people were coming from, and no one would tell them. Tempers running hot at a Sylacauga City Council meeting where residents expressed very frustrating viewpoints on the ongoing controversy surrounding Haitian immigrants, illegal immigrants flooding into the city. Asking city leaders how in the hell this is happening and why. And the city leaders, frankly, even city leaders who are concerned as they are about this event, said, we don't know and no one will tell us. Resident James Hope was a speaker to get up to engage the council and asked about their involvement and engagement with Haitians within their community. In response to resident James Hope's questions, Councilman Ashton Fowler revealed that they had both met with several Haitian immigrants while receiving very little information about what federal programs facilitated their arrival. Nix, who is another councilman on the Sylacauga City Council, said, I've spent quite a bit of time out there on Sunday because I wanted to hear from the horse's mouth. I know there's been a lot of stuff posted on social media. There's a lot of things that people are saying. So the way I operate, I wanted to go and see what they had to say. The way it works is they're here on a federal visa. They have papers. It's an 18-month visa. So they're being employed by a temporary service. Nobody knows what the temporary service is. But from what they're telling me, the temporary service employs them, and then the assignments last for 3 months. So when the assignment ends, they just go somewhere else to try to find a job. Nix went on to insist, based on the information that she obtained, that word of mouth alone causes an immigrant to choose one city over another. She did not share residents' concerns about safety or economic impact, noting that they are, quote, just here for work. And once again, that is Council President Tiffany Nix, who is the one who shut down public comment during the council meeting after residents spoke about their concerns last week. So, according to Sylacauga, Alabama, and this is even worse, all of this is being coordinated on the federal level. By whom and why? Why? Why is the federal government sending tens of thousands of people into Springfield, Ohio? Why is the federal government sending thousands of people into Sylacauga, Alabama, into these small communities, into these small towns? Perhaps they think that they will not be noticed by mainstream media networks and so that they can run under the cover of darkness. Perhaps they want to cause civil unrest in some of these small towns and then point the finger and blame it on racism or an anti-immigrant mentality, xenophobia. And no one seems to be able to get to the truth, to the bottom of it. Why is this happening? It's happening. How much cat eating is going on, how much pet eating is going on, I don't know. And you don't either. None of us know. None of us know. And I'm not trying to get into that debate. I'm just telling you, none of us know how much that is going on. Is there evidence that some of it's going on? Sure, some of it's going on. It's 51 after the hour. This is the Matt Murphy Show. I'll get to your calls momentarily. Matt's been holding on in I'm assuming he's in Lebanon and not in Lebanon. But I don't know because they're spelled the same. We'll find out together on Super Talk. Hello, friends. It's Matt Murphy for You U.S. Pest. That is J.K. Brister, Erica Brister, and the rest of the U.S. Pest team. They want to see you. They want to say hello to you, and they want to become a part of your residential family because they do their job very well. Their job is to rid you of common pests found in Tennessee. And some of those threat pests that are in Tennessee, bugs and spiders and roaches and ticks, they carry diseases, folks. You don't want them around your family. You don't want them in your home. And obviously, they have an ick factor about them, but they also have disease going on. And then there are the termites. Folks, termites are bad news. And every home in the state of Tennessee is threatened by termites. Preventative and corrective procedures can be initiated with a 100% money-back guarantee through U.S. Pest. Now, I love their name because I know how much J.K. and Erica love their country. They love our United States of America, and they want you to live in this great state of Tennessee pest-free through their business at U.S. Pest. It's one of the reasons when you see one of their billboards, I pass one every day on I-40 westbound coming into the city from Mount Juliet, and I see those beautiful American flags flying above their billboard. They don't have to do that. They do it because they love their country so much. And I love U.S. Pest. Go to uspest.com, uspest.com, or give them a call at 590-1260. That's 615-590-1260. And tell them Matt Murphy sent you to U.S. Pest.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionality, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can
Lebanese officials reporting another wave of explosions. Details at 1 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
There he is, Ken Weaver, just before 1 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. As usual, I'm running late, always tardy. I'm like the little white rabbit in Alice in Wonderland. I'm always late for a very important date. We will get to the issue of the media's coverage of Donald Trump. We'll continue getting your thoughts on this and how their treatment of Donald Trump and their treatment of illegal Haitian immigrants is so different. They're different situations, but I think there's a commonality in how they're treating it, and it's all about Trump derangement syndrome. Number 2, we're going to talk about Nashville next hour. We're going to talk about two-way radios as well next hour. Blowing up overseas. Bad day to be a terrorist, guys. Bad day to be a terrorist. 1 hour down, 2 to go. It's the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Here comes the very important news headlines with Ken Weaver right now.
One o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast in 5 minutes. Hezbollah appears under attack again in Lebanon. This was at a funeral today in Beirut. Reports say today's explosions are from handheld communication devices, walkie-talkies, that Hezbollah members used to communicate. This funeral, by the way, was for 4 people killed in yesterday's pager explosions. Now the UN is weighing in on what's going on in Lebanon.
Beyond the targeting of things like pagers, the UN Secretary General worries it could signal a prelude to something even larger.
Logic of making all these devices explode is to do it as a preemptive strike before a major military operation.
And in his view, Antonio Guterres says
everything must be done to avoid that escalation.
That's Tom Rivers reporting. Back here in the U.S., election 2024. Karen Travers says members of Vice President Kamala Harris's and former President Trump's campaign teams met for the first time at the White House today.
The meeting of the White House Transition Coordinating Committee and the Harris and Trump campaign teams was convened by President Biden's Chief of Staff, Jeff Zients, to continue the administration's transition planning efforts and ensure a responsible and smooth transfer of power. A White House spokesperson said in a statement, quote, administration officials provided updates on transition work streams, demonstrating that all transition activities continue to be on track. The committee includes Zients, the Director of National Intelligence, the White House Budget Director and Homeland Security Advisor, and the Administrator of the General Services Administration, among others.
Here in Tennessee, authorities investigating a missing person discovered human remains last week in Wilson County. TBI confirms it was at a home on Burnt House Road in Lebanon on September 12th. Now, the search of the property was part of the investigation of the disappearance of an Antioch woman. 23-year-old Blanca Ariana was last seen at her apartment on August 18th before going to Murfreesboro to visit a family member. And the Federal Reserve expected to cut interest rates today for the first time in 4 years. Here's Elizabeth Schulze.
Nobody knows exactly how much it's going to be, whether it's a 1/4 percentage point or 1/2 percentage point. Wall Street is expecting a bigger rate cut, while most economists I'm talking to think that they're going to take that more gradual approach. But the bottom line is that those interest rates are going down. And this is just the beginning of a series of interest rates cuts that will make the cost of borrowing money at least a little bit less expensive. So that applies to everything from your mortgages to a new car loan to credit card debt.
And guess what, sports fans? The Fed just announced it is cutting the key interest rate by 1/2 point. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
So Kraft Body Scan wants you to know that they have their very special heart and lung scan running through the month of September. They have continued this for several months because so many of you are excited about the opportunity to have a CT scan done with you and your loved one, your significant other, your spouse, for less than $150. $149, it's a value of like $2,500. And the team at Kraft Body Scan, they want to introduce themselves to you, make them a regular part of your annual or semi-annual checkups. Here's how it works. You get a private health consultation right before you scan. They'll talk to you about certain health concerns that you might have. I did a full body scan and absolutely loved it. This heart and lung scan for you and your significant other, just $149. Once again, an incredible value. The scan takes about 5 to 8 minutes. Images are reviewed by their board-certified radiologist, and then the results are reviewed by their team of providers, and then the results are delivered to you verbally as well as on paper or email, depending on how you want them. $149. Let's do this for our health today. So many things can be discovered before you would feel symptomatic. It's Kraft Body Scan at togetherwescan.com. That's togetherwescan.com, or give them a call, 615-436-1000, 436-1000. It is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Coming up in about an hour from now, Cameron Smith of the Tennessean over in Conservative Closet there will stop by, offer his thoughts on the weekend activities, the media's reaction to it, where we are regarding the presidential contest and other matters. Plus, we will cover this hour for you comprehensively the goings-on of Israel and the Mossad, their CIA, if you will, and what is happening today. Just moments ago, as reported by our illustrious and award-winning newsman Ken Weaver, the Federal Reserve has made a decision to cut interest rates by 0.5 of 1 point. It was expected that this would either be a 1/4 of a point cut or a 0.5 point cut. It was a 0.5 point cut. So I suppose that Bidenomics is doing so well that the Federal Reserve has decided that the economy is going so great that they have to cut interest rates by a 0.5 point. I kid. Obviously, I'm being sarcastic. That's not what happened at all. So what that means, who knows? I don't. I know that the stock market is reacting incredibly positively to it. It was in negative territory up until the point that the cuts were announced. Well, I guess it had snuck into positive territory right before the cuts were announced. They were announced, and it has since spiked upwards of about 200 points right now. As the trading is ongoing. So interest rates are, what is the Fed's key interest rate, like 4% now? I guess it just dipped. It was at 0. It was at nothing up until about 2021 in the aftermath of the pandemic. And then they began pushing it upwards in order to manipulate the economy in that fashion. I don't pretend to have enough knowledge about America's financial interest. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to pretend that I have a depth of knowledge that could help you understand how this might actually impact the economy. I do have enough political knowledge to know that this seems political in its nature with regard to the 0.5 point cut as opposed to the 1/4 point cut. This jumbo cut, if you will, is happening less than 50 days before a presidential election. It is no question in my mind that this is happening in the fashion that it is because of politics.
Right now, Brother Murphy.
Yes, sir.
The Fed benchmark interest rate sits at 5.25%.
Okay.
Which is a 23-year high.
Mm-hmm. And so that's pre-cut?
That is, this was 11 minutes ago, so I'm wondering if maybe this is not post-cut.
Got it. All right, so it means that this feels like, and I don't know how anyone else. Maybe I get Paul Winkler on about that. I need to get Paul Winkler on about this.
He'll know.
Paul Winkler will know. I'm gonna reach out to Paul and see if he might swing in via telephone and and give us a little information as to what the heck all of this means. In the meantime, Matt is in Lebanon or Lebanon, I don't know which, and he wants to talk about Joe Biden and his presidency. Believe it or not, Joe Biden remains president of the United States. I know it's hard to believe, but it's true. Hello, Matt. What's going on?
Hey, Matt. How you doing?
I'm great.
Pleasure talking to you.
Well, thank you for holding, friend.
I am in Lebanon.
Lebanon,
Tennessee.
Lebanon.
Yep. Lebanon, Tennessee.
Yep.
That's correct, sir. I noticed that we got some low gas prices here now the last week or so, and I was curious as to how that's happening and whether or not Joe Biden is depleting our fuel reserves more to make this happen.
I'm sorry, Matt. Say that again. I missed that last portion of that. I apologize.
I was curious as to whether Joe Biden is depleting our fuel reserves more to give us these low gas prices that we've had the last week or so.
I have not seen any announcement on the part of the Biden administration that they are releasing anything from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve lately. They have depleted those reserves to the lowest point, I want to say, since we've been tracking it in the last 40 years. So we have less in our reserves than we have had in my adult lifetime.
Yeah, mine too. I was just curious as to how he was making this happen.
Analysts are saying right now, analysts at GasBuddy are saying a lack of refinery problems, lower oil prices, less demand from China, less demand here, and a switch to cheaper winter blends are combined to result in these lower gas prices. That's what analysts are saying over at GasBuddy.
Yeah. Convenient timing, I guess.
Well, I mean,
right.
and Matt, I understand why you would be suspicious about, and Matt, I think, is reflecting on the fact that gasoline prices have gone down over the past several weeks and months. And as Ken just illustrated, there are a number of reasons why that might be. I've said this during Republican administrations, and I will say it during Democrat administrations, that there is precious little that the president of the United States can do in the immediate term. I mean, it's not as if the president can wake up, come down in the White House, go into the Oval Office, get on a computer and say, oh, what are gasoline prices going to be today? Let's set those up. That's not the way it works. Energy policy, a determination to utilize fossil fuel resources here in the United States of America, opening up the ability for letting these permits that companies then can use to research where best to drill and allowing them the ability to actually drill after releasing the permits. These oil leases, these gasoline leases, these land leases are very important in the long term. Offshore drilling is important in the long term. Fracking is important in the long term. This is an overall energy structure that would lead to lowered gasoline prices at the pump over time. But there's very little that a president of the United States can do overnight, absent, as Matt has pointed out, a dump in the marketplace of tens of millions of barrels of oil unrefined in our Strategic Petroleum Reserve. You do that, and you know basic economics kick in at that point. You see an influx in supply, demand remains stagnant, prices go down, right? The other way that prices go down, and I think that's what's happening here, demand goes down. You have less activity over in China. You have less activity on the worldwide stage. You have less economic activity here in the United States of America. Think about it. When I produce a good in this country, how do you get it? Right? Everything is predicated on fossil fuel. Oil is the blood of the United States of America. I'm not against modern technologies. I'm not against modern sources of energy. I'm not against wind or solar or anything else for that matter. And I think we need to be investing a lot more in mini nuclear power plants. And that is M-I-N-I. Mini, not many, mini nuclear power plants, as France has done in order to power local communities. But that's another subject for another day. No one's against these alternate forms of energy production, but the lifeblood of the United States of America comes in the form of oil and gasoline and gas, natural gas. And all of those resources are in abundance under our feet. Sadly, the Democrat administration currently in place, and that has been in place over the last 3.5 years, has chosen the route of climate change philosophy and the Green New Deal as opposed to reinvesting and re-upping and allowing our energy sector to run at full speed, unfettered by regulation upon regulation or burden upon burden, red tape after red tape nonsense. So long term, that's created a dynamic by which we are no longer energy independent. We are no longer a net producer of energy, and we've seen gasoline prices creep up. In the short term, it's my understanding through my reading of all of this that our lack of economic activity, our lack of productivity in the United States, the stagnant economy that has led to some of the job numbers that we've seen over the last several months. When I don't have a job to go to, I'm not driving my automobile. When I don't drive my automobile to work and I'm not producing a product, then that product is not shipped from the production facility to some other facility or directly to the consumer. All of those things take gasoline. All of those things take oil. And as those things aren't happening as they should in a robust economy, you're going to see gasoline prices, to put it simply, typically they do the opposite of what's happening with the economy. If the economy is running stagnant, gasoline price is going to go down. And you think, wow, look at the pumps. I mean, gasoline price is only at $2.36 a gallon. Isn't that great? That's almost an indicator that the economy is not doing as it should. It takes a careful management of both systems in order to see an economy flourish and at the same time manage the amount of energy that is necessary to see that economy flourish and by necessity see an increase in prices. What you have to do if you increase demand, if you want to see prices remain the same, Malinoff, you should have learned this in Economics 101. You ready? You ready for the test?
I am prepared.
Okay. If you want to see prices remain the same and demand goes up for anything, what also has to go up for prices to stay the same?
Supply.
Very good, Malinoff. Way to go. There you go, buddy. That's exactly right. You have to increase the supply consistent with the demand if you want prices to remain the same. If supply doesn't go up and demand goes up, what's going to happen to the price?
Oh, you're still talking to me?
I'm still talking to you.
Say that one more time. I was actually concentrating on the chat line.
If demand goes up with anything in a free market system, demand goes up and the supply remains the same, what happens to the price?
It rises.
It goes up, right? If demand goes down and the supply remains the same, what happens to the price?
Goes down.
It goes down. It's not that hard. It's not that even KGB can do it.
What is that supposed to mean?
That means it's not that hard.
I have a college degree. Honestly, it means nothing now, doesn't it? I just realized as I said that means nothing anymore.
It used to be.
It used to mean something. When I graduated, it meant something. And now it's like you can get a good degree for literally anything.
The first thing, I'm laughing, not at you, I'm laughing with you because the first thing I thought when you went, I have a college degree was, well, so do I.
Yeah.
And,
I bought one for 50 cents from a fellow over here on Demumbrian.
Weaver, have you ever thought about...
It said D-I-G-R-E-Y, degree.
A degree. I got myself one of them degrees from one of them online schools.
It's a shame because as soon as I said that, I'm like, oh, wait, it means nothing anymore. They have destroyed the college system.
Y'all have completely squirreled me, but there's a commercial that's running on some local channel. I'm not casting aspersions against this institution. It's some sort of online institution. It's WGU. They have an owl as a mascot.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Have you seen this?
Yeah, it's a wise owl. It's got an eyepiece.
He's got a monocle on, doesn't he? It's like he's eyeballing you. And they're like, are you tired of classes? Are you tired of having to work on their schedule? Are you tired of having to take tests when they tell you it's test time? Well, get your degree from WGU where you decide all of that stuff. And I'm like, wait a minute. That doesn't sound right. I don't know. Maybe I'm just an old soul when it comes to that sort of thing.
Get you a T-shirt with a big old owl on it and one of them eyepieces.
I used to have you remember, what was his name? Bluto from Animal House. He had the sweatshirt on that just said college.
Yeah.
I used to have one of those sweatshirts. College.
Oh, I forgot about that movie, man.
Where did you attend? College. Was it over when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor? No. Don't stop him. He's on a roll.
Oh.
The Germans bombed Pearl Harbor? Don't stop him. He's on a roll. No, so the interest rate cut, 0.5 percentage point. I'm going to connect with Paul Winkler and see if we can't get him on to try to explain some of this to us and what it's going to mean for the economy and why they would make the decision to cut a 0.5 point as opposed to a 1/4 point. It's 20 minutes after the hour. This is Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
The Guaranteed Offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a Guaranteed Offer and start packing.
Hezbollah appears under attack again in Lebanon, and the interest rate has been cut. We'll tell you about it at 1:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you much, Mr. Ken Weaver, in communication with Paul Winkler. He's going to pop in via telephone coming up in the next, 15, 20 minutes or so. He's got to get back to the office. He just finished up a meeting, and he's going to stop by via phone and explain the interest rate cut that just happened. The Federal Reserve, the economy's going so well that they instituted a crisis-level half-a-point cut in the United States interest rate. It is designed to get you to borrow more money. Obviously, it's designed to get you to put some of your money out of the savings account and into the economy via borrowing. And they're trying to encourage more borrowing, whether it's lending for homes, lending for automobiles, lending for other purposes. That is the design of an interest rate cut. It's designed to stimulate economic activity. I know that, and I'm no Paul Winkler. Paul can either help me or hurt me in my analysis here.
Well, I wonder what it's going to do for the record number of Americans who have credit card debt.
Well, that's a great question. You know what? I'm going to ask Paul Winkler that question. That's a good question. I'm writing that down.
We should not forget he has a show every Saturday.
That's
right
true.
Here on this program, and I produce it, and I learn so much from him. It's crazy. Just listening to him is great. And
how long have you been producing the Winkler Show?
Since I started.
Know that.
Yeah,
good for you.
I do weekend shows, and I do his show, and I do Dr. Friday's show, and I also do Jennifer Sheets' show.
Dr. Friday.
Yes.
Hello.
And I also.
This is my impersonation of Dr. Friday.
Can we please keep her on the show, please?
I love Dr. Friday.
And
I've never met her. Oh,
she's a sweet lady.
I'm just kidding. And I have to say I'm just kidding because I'm just kidding.
Also, my other show I do, shout out to Jennifer Sheets, Mastering the Workforce. She's great as well.
Any other shout outs you want to do,
No, just those
KGB,
three.
while I'm trying to get back to my show here? Anything else? You want to talk about that girlfriend of yours, Kelly, last night, ice cream shop, Franklin, Tennessee?
It went well.
Did it?
Yeah.
You get a little smooch at the end of the night?
I'm not kissing and telling. I am a gentleman.
So you kissed?
I'm not telling. Leave that to your imagination.
Well, if you didn't kiss, you would tell. You see how that works?
Touche.
So you did, in fact, tell. By the way, 7470, calm down. I think I actually said I don't know what WGU is. I don't know where they're coming from, and I have no comment on the actual university itself. But here we go. 7470 is like, WGU is an accredited university. I have a BS and MS from there. Stop bleeping on it. And that bleep started with an SH.
Goodness.
Well, apparently at WGU, they don't teach you how to use your words without cursing. Do they? My goodness. I did not poop on it. Calm down. I don't know anything about the university. I just think their ads are funny because they're like, are you tired of going to classes? Are you tired of taking tests on their time? Are you tired of doing things when they say you have to do it? Do it on your own time, online, whenever you want. Are you tired of them telling you you can't have a job and go to school at the same time? And I don't know when they've ever told you any of those things in the modern world, but
I like their owl.
I think their owl's cool. He's smart, like Ken said. Anytime you see an owl with glasses on, you know you're dealing with a smart owl. Mm-hmm. That owl is an accredited owl. And WGU is an accredited university. At first, I thought it was my own alma mater, Ken. My alma mater is West Georgia College, which is now called West Georgia University, WGU, but they're not the Owls.
What are they?
Well, so when I went to school there, Ken, here's a backstory. They were the Braves.
Okay.
In Carrollton, Georgia, just outside of Atlanta. I think that's probably something to do with it.
Yes, sir.
They were the Braves. Well, apparently that was not PC enough for the West Georgia College.
So they changed
it. Now, when they changed it, they sent out these notices to all of the alumni. Hey, we want your input. My buddy Caleb and I worked the system and tried to convince them to change their nickname to the Fire Ants. I mean, think about it, Ken. I mean, you don't want to get around fire ants.
No, sir.
Fire ants might be small, but they're feisty.
Oh, they'll sting you.
Oh, and they'll sting you. And then we said they were building a stadium at the time. They were building a football stadium because previously they'd played their football games at the high school stadium in Carrollton, Georgia. But they built their own stadium. And I said, you could call the stadium the Mound. You know what I mean?
You could, man.
Sponsored by the Mounds Bar.
I mean, I think it's a great. I think it was a great name. We weren't even kidding.
Yeah, that's yeah.
I mean, we're not the biggest creature on the block. We're not the biggest school on the block, but we work together in unison, and we fight for the common goal and the common cause.
There you go.
We'll swarm you.
Yes, sir.
No,
Fire ants, man, they don't joke around.
You know what they went with?
Where'd they go?
The wolves.
The wolves.
The wolves.
Everybody's the wolves.
I mean, come on.
Everyone is the Wildcats.
Yeah, the Wildcats
That's the
and
most
the
common
wolves.
one.
And there's a lot of bulldogs out there,
That's
too.
true also.
Right? You know, and that's coming from a bulldog.
Hey, coming from
fan.
a Wildcat, every other school's Wildcat.
You know what? While we're talking about this, while Ken's getting ready for the news, what the hell's a Sooner?
Oh, it's not a very honest person.
Is it? Can I guess? Can I guess?
Yeah.
Is it when they had the land rush?
Yeah.
When the people that got there early?
Yes.
Is that what it is?
They crossed the line early.
Is that what it is?
Is that really what it is?
And
They got there too soon.
Staked their claim to land before they were supposed to.
And they were called
The Sooners.
the Sooners.
Well, it makes sense because when they start every game, they're on a big wagon. Makes sense.
That's right.
Listen, if we just listen to Ken Weaver a little bit more, the entire planet would make a little more sense. And we're going to do that right now on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.1:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Full forecast in 5 minutes. Got a big signal today from the Federal Reserve that ends its inflation fight. Full report in a moment, but first, another round of explosions in Lebanon, seemingly targeting the terrorist group Hezbollah. This was at a funeral today in Beirut.
Roll.
That funeral for 4 people killed during the round of explosions yesterday. But Martha Raddatz says today's explosions are different from yesterday when it was pagers.
We believe, according to sources, that it was walkie-talkies that blew up. This is yet another communications form for Hezbollah members. Quite extraordinary. They wouldn't stop using any devices after what happened when more than 2,800 people were wounded, most of them believed to be Hezbollah operatives. But again, that wave of explosions, it's spontaneously but very, very well organized.
Yeah, so Lebanon's health ministry reporting at least 9 people killed and about 300 injured. Now to the big news from the Fed. They cut a key interest rate by 0.5 point. Here's Elizabeth Schulze.
This is an historic move, the first rate cut in 4 years from the Federal Reserve, and now it is sending a very clear signal that it is taking this fight seriously, that it wants to preserve the jobs market. In its statement, it makes that clear that it is making a 0.5 point rate cut to try to preserve the jobs market with inflation now closer to its target.
And here in Tennessee, TBI confirms human remains were found during the search for a missing Antioch woman. The remains have not been positively identified. They were on a property on Burnt House Road in Lebanon last week. The search was related to the disappearance of 23-year-old Blanca Ariana, who was last seen at her apartment on August 18th before allegedly going to Murfreesboro to visit a family member. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hey, friends, it's Matt Murphy. Let's talk about your personal safety for a moment. Do you go to where people gather? I mean, all of us do from time to time, right? Whether it's a school for your kids, whether it's church and a church outing, whether it's your place of business. If you're a decision maker in any of these places, might I encourage you to contact Defense Systems, and let's make sure that our workers in our workplace or our officials in our school setting, our church setting, are fully aware of the dangerous world that we live in and what to do in the unlikely event, and it is truly unlikely, that you will experience some form of violence in the workplace, in a school, or in a church, or a place of other place of business. Defense Systems does all of these things. They sit down with you. They talk about site surveys and threat assessments. They discuss security improvement. They consult you in that arena. And then they meet with your people, and they talk to them about active shooter response, rapid response medical training, all of it customized to your facility and all to the level that you want to go to. Defense Systems is simply the best in the business. Call Brink, Tracy, Gloria, the rest of the team at Defense Systems today and find out when they can sit down and meet with you about your place of business. 236-6484. That's 615-236-6484 or defensesystems.com.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I have to clean up a lot of things here because in my hour and a half on the radio on this Wednesday edition, I've made a total mess of things. So let's clean a few things up. I don't hate WGU. I don't hate the Owls. I don't think they have a football team because they're only online. They don't have a physical campus. I have people that are mad as hell at me on the Super Text. I blame Ken Weaver. Is what I do. I'm going to blame Ken Weaver. Is he back there right now? I don't know. He's not?
He is not. I'm shocked he didn't blame me.
Good. No. That's perfect then. So when he gets back, let him know that I blamed him for this controversy that's happening on the membersnutrition.com super text line right now, which is that I am
He just walked in. You can tell him right now.
I'm blaming you, Ken, on all of this. I'm blaming Ken Weaver for making fun. I mean, I don't know that he was actually making fun, but people think he was making fun of the little owl.
No, sir.
And now we're all in trouble on the Members Nutrition Super Text line because people are saying, my buddy got a degree from there and you're crapping on him. Hey, stop smacking on WGU.
I'm not making fun of that owl. I like it.
I like
it.
He's got a little spectacle.
He's got an eyepiece.
Yeah.
That's how you know it's a smart owl.
That's
exactly.
Right. I think he might. I need to go look back and look at the little image there, Ken.
Yeah.
But I think he might have a little hat on, like one of those little graduation hats on.
Yeah. With
the little tassel.
Right.
You can't have a football team if it's that kind of owl. Let's be honest.
That's what they do. And really, what kind of owl would strike fear in the heart of anybody?
Great horned owl, absolutely.
Oh, okay, maybe.
You're a mouse.
Have you ever seen an owl shaved, like absent hair or feathers?
Is this some kind of weird kink that people are into?
Man.
They shave the owls?
I take it back. I'm saying it wrong.
You mean a molted parrot, like a molted owl?
I have seen an owl that lost its hair for some reason or another.
I say
hair.
It?
I mean feathers. And owls look robust. Owls look meaty.
Oh, yes.
They are not. That is all fluff and hair. They are skinny little things.
Most birds
look very weird.
It's a lie.
It's a big lie. One way or the other, nobody's smacking on WGU. God bless you if you're getting your degrees from there. I appreciate you. I'm glad you're furthering your education in whatever fashion you're furthering it. And we stand with you, WGU. Go Owls. Or whatever you are. That's the voice of Cameron Smith. He comes in early sometimes, and we love it. I love it. But we also have Paul Winkler on the line. Can we talk to Paul about this rate cut? Yeah, let's do. Paul Winkler, how are you, sir?
Brother Matt, how are you?
I am fabulous. Just before we came back from break, Cameron and I were talking about this interest rate cut.
Yeah.
And I have a difficult time understanding how this is going to help inflation. Because isn't it going to encourage people to go to the bank and borrow money?
Yeah, so I think what they're worried about really is more deflation than inflation. And that's something you don't hear an awful lot about in the media, how the economy may be just a little bit weaker than we're thinking that it is. If I think that I'm going to have deflation, prices are going to be lower next year, I'm going to put off purchasing something because it'll be cheaper next year.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really what we ran into during the Great Depression. The problem was that we had deflation, and we had a little bit of a bout of it in 07, 08, if you remember that.
Mm-hmm.
We had some issues where prices were going down, and it scared the living daylights out of the Fed, to the extent that they said, hey, we better cut quicker. And I, quite frankly, a buddy of mine and I were talking yesterday, and he said, what do you think they're going to do? What do you think they're going to do? I said, oh, man. I said, quarter point, just because I don't think that they want to get involved in political things and, look like there's some favoritism. But if it's really bad, the economy's really bad, you might go a half a point, if things are worse than we think they are. Yeah, because the Fed's they have information that a lot of us, we just don't have. They have information before everybody else, and it's been long conjectured that, it's not necessarily the Fed setting interest rates, the market setting interest rates. Gene Fama, the guy that I studied under, the Nobel Prize winning economist, he made the point that it's who's following who is really what it gets down to. And when you look at it, it's really the market is not following the Fed. It's the Fed really following the market. But, you look around at the general consensus of all informed investors, and the economy is maybe a little weaker than we think. And hence, that's why I think a half point.
So I know Cameron's got a question, but let me ask you this. Back up a minute and explain it to the 8th grade class here, what the Fed did, what the federal government's involvement in this is to begin with. What is a decrease in the interest rate as set by the Federal Reserve to begin with? Give us just the economics 101 on this point.
Yeah, so you remember It's a Wonderful Life.
I do.
You put your money in the bank, and your money's not in the bank. It goes into Joe's house, and you have a reserve requirement. When you put money in a bank, they have to hold reserves. So let's say the reserve requirement is 10%. You put $100,000 in, they hold $10,000 back in the vault. The other $90,000 gets lent out. Then it flows to the economy. Some of that ends up back in the banking system. Let's say that $80,000 of that ends up in the banking system. Somebody makes a deposit of that $90,000 that went out. They're going to hold a reserve of $8,000, another 10% of that. And that's the velocity of money that, you and I have talked about before. Well, what happens is some banks have reserves on hand. Some banks don't necessarily have enough reserves on hand. So when the Fed comes calling, they say, hey, we got to make sure you got enough money on hand. They've got to look at those numbers. And if they don't have the money, they may borrow the money. So they have to borrow the money and make sure that they have the money in there. Typically, historically, the last entity you want to go to borrow money to make sure you have enough money in your reserves is the Fed itself. But they set an interest rate at which banks lend to each other. And that's really what we're talking about there. They're really dealing with short-term interest rates because when you're borrowing for reserves, it's a short-term type of loan. And what happens is when they set that interest rate, it tells the market kind of what's going on in the economy. And if you want to increase the amount of money flowing through the economy, you decrease the interest rate, so you can.
But isn't that by definition going to temporarily increase inflation?
It can, but remember what I said. We're worried about deflation.
Well, but
we're not worried about prices going up.
When you say we, Paul, I'm not. What about the average family that's trying to buy eggs and groceries?
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, we're worried about inflation in the deflation in the future.
Right. So
yeah.
you're talking about the power brokers that are making these decisions. They're worried about deflation down the road.
Yeah, in general. And there are certain things that are deflating, certain things that are inflating. And it's just so interesting when you look at the rich versus the poor and the gap between them. It's actually increased. And it increased under Obama as well, that the gap between the haves and the have-nots, which is very opposite of what you think would be the case, right, based on what you hear. But that is really what's going on. It's like certain things that the general public buy, just for needs and for living day to day. Yeah, the inflation's been terrible with those things. But there are a lot of things that we're looking at, deflation, going, could it be that we have deflationary pressures in the future because we're starting to get higher unemployment? When you start to have higher unemployment, all of a sudden now what happens to wages, which is a part of your inflation, right? Part of my inflation is a wage costs go up. If I have to buy a car, well, that car is made by people. Those people charge for their services. If you have higher unemployment, they can't bargain for as high a wages as they used to, and that's part of the deflationary issue that you're dealing with. Is all of a sudden that unemployment rate starts to get up there, and you go, oh, wait a minute, we could all of a sudden have this situation where stagflation. Remember that?
Yeah.
You have a stagnant economy, you got inflation, and then you have some of that, but you also have the issue of just wages coming down when prices are going up. And that's politically really unpopular.
Well, Paul, I've got a question for you. Why couldn't, I think in 2020, the depository institutions reserve amount from the Fed was like zero. I think it may still be that. And so couldn't the Fed say, okay, here's the deal. We're going to drop the Federal Reserve rate, but we're going to increase the amount of reserves that you banks have to have in your institutions to deal with the increase in the money supply, to kind of pull some of that money back out of the economy and kind of monitor it. Can you use that reserve at all?
You don't see that reserve requirement change that often. I can't remember when I've seen that reserve requirement change very much. So, yeah, can you do that? Absolutely. And then, of course, you can also buy bonds, and you can buy and sell bonds, as far as, as a way of playing around with the interest rates. And that's typically what they'll do in more extreme circumstances, and that's what they've done. But, yeah, you can, but I don't see that change very often. That'd be more of a safety issue for the banks.
So a bunch of people on the membersnutrition.com super text line are asking the same question, Paul. And I'll just ask you the way that they're asking me. Is this a half a point cut? Is this political?
Well, that was my question. Was it going to be? But my intuition is that it's probably worse, just economically, than was initially thought. And that is why they're actually cutting it a little bit more. Maybe things aren't quite as rosy as is being portrayed by the general media and the public. So and this is something I always want to make sure I let people understand, is that, let's say if we look at stock markets, sometimes people can take this stuff and say, oh, it could be bad for the stock market. Notice that markets drove up, especially small caps, with this information. You can have a horrible recession. You can have things look really, really bad and stock markets still go up. What has happened with interest rates going down has actually created more demand for stocks. So I just want to make sure I put that on the table, because sometimes people listen to this type of talk and they use it for a prediction about the future. What do I think is going to happen with the stock market? But that's not where I'm going.
Well, one thing to think about, guys, is in this report from Elizabeth Schulze this past cast, she was talking about how the decision was based on protecting jobs. And if you remember, the revised job numbers came in, and 816,000 jobs that the administration claims had been created had actually not been created.
Yep.
So I'm wondering.
A lot of government jobs, right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So that could play into it too, maybe.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right about that. So when we look at, when I was talking about the unemployment rate earlier, I'm saying, hey, we don't want to get that too high, because all of a sudden that could be deflationary, because people will drop their wages just to get a job or retain their job, and you lose the upward pressure on wage rates. So, yeah, that can be definitely an issue.
Interesting.
So I've been asked to ask you about mortgage rates and whether or not you expect those. I mean, do they go down automatically based on a 0.5 percentage point cut, or is that up to the individual lending institutions? How does that work?
That can be a little bit slower, simply because when you're talking about the Federal Reserve, you're talking about short-term interest rates right there. When you're talking about mortgages, it's longer-term interest rates. Automatically, what we've been seeing on mortgages, what we've been seeing on loans for businesses, the interest rates have already been coming down. So, like I said earlier, when I said that who's following who, that's what I was talking about. The marketplace, when you think about the marketplace and how much money the Fed actually messes with, it's a very small percentage of the bond market as a whole around the world. And you can actually look at term rates, which is, how long, what the interest rate is at various lending periods, 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, so on and so forth. You'll notice that even when you're looking just at the Federal Reserve, you see these types of things happening, interest rate changes in Japan. You'll see it happening in Europe. You'll see it happening in Germany. So just because the Fed does something doesn't mean it hasn't already happened or isn't already happening in other parts around the world. So who's following who? It's like, it's a chicken egg type of thing. And yes, interest rates could come down. It's more where you're going to see the interest rate changes more immediately are in the variable rate loans. You're also going to see it in the high yield savings accounts. Typically, there's a little bit of a lag. There was a study done on that, and the lag may be a few months long anyway, where those interest rates come down on the high yield savings, the CD rates start to come down. But it is not the long-term mortgages that come down that rapidly.
Sally, I'll give her credit for this joke. She said, it sounds like this Flation family, they're the problem. Inflation, deflation, stagflation. Get a handle on this Flation family, and we'll be all the better off. Paul, in all seriousness, thank you so much for popping on and explaining some of this to us. I so appreciate you.
Hey, good talking to you guys. Take care, all right?
All right, take care. There's Paul Winkler. You can hear Paul Saturday afternoon, starting at 3, right, there, Malinoff? Is that correct? 3 o'clock?
Yes.
3 o'clock Saturday afternoons on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We'll continue the conversation next, 1:53 on Super Talk. I mean, look, you already know that the place to buy a gun in Nashville, Tennessee is at the Glock store, specifically Glocks, but they have other brands as well. handguns, and long guns. Now, if you're looking for a place to shoot, shooting rooms are the option that we encourage you to go with, and they have those shooting rooms at the Glock store. Better replicates life that way. If you're looking to learn, every session is a private session, and the instructors are not matched in this community. They just aren't. They're the best of the best. But they're also the best place to party. Their VIP rooms are a perfect place for all sorts of celebrations, from birthdays, retirements, corporate team building. If you have a gun interest in your family, what about a birthday celebration at the Glock store? If you have an interest in the Second Amendment with your business, or maybe there's a retirement at hand, then you need to go to the Glock store for more info about how you can get that party started. A VIP room is available with a full kitchen. They have dedicated shooting rooms, instructors for their shooting rooms, shooting activities designed for every level of expertise. It's the Glock store. Best place to learn, best place to shoot, best place to party. Give them a call, 615-682-6565. 682-6565 for the Glock store.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
2 o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. I don't see a chance for rain for several days. Full forecast coming up in 5 minutes. Lebanese officials reporting another wave of explosions in Beirut and smaller cities, this time walkie-talkies and handheld radios exploding in the hands of Hezbollah members. That was at a funeral in Beirut for 4 people killed by exploding pagers yesterday. Martha Raddatz has more from Tel Aviv.
The Israelis are not publicly commenting about this at all, but the defense minister today did say that Israel's war is now moving north out of Gaza. That means towards the border, and yet they have not given any sort of specific plans for what goes on. They have been exchanging missile and rocket fire in Lebanon and Israel back and forth, certainly intensifying since last October's attack here in Israel.
Lebanon's health ministry reporting at least 9 people killed, about 300 injured so far today. Here in this country, the Federal Reserve moves to cut interest rates. Here's Derek Dennis.
The half-point cut is larger than a quarter-point cut many analysts had expected, and it signals an aggressive move by the Fed in its ongoing effort to tamp down on inflation. Many say it's a real milestone for the U.S. economy, a victory in a sense because it could start a trend by the Fed to gradually lower interest rates over the next year. Car and mortgage loans, credit card interest, all expected to get cheaper with this Federal Reserve rate cut.
Stung by claims that overuse of social media is affecting the mental and physical health of kids, Instagram is implementing new teen settings. Jim Ryan says the accounts of the platform's youngest users will automatically be restricted.
Among the changes, Instagram will default to sleep mode between 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. to ensure that teen users are getting rest instead of messaging. Industry stats show that Instagram is the 4th most popular social media platform in the world, but
I won't be surprised if some of the other platforms look at this and say, oh gosh, now we've been called to task.
Psychologist Don Grant.
They're going to have to say, well, what are we going to do now?
Instagram parent Meta also owns Facebook, Threads, and WhatsApp.
And Uber rolling out a new feature designed to make drivers safer. Here's Mike Dubusky.
Uber is out with a new rider verification system. It works by having users take a photo of their ID and then a selfie. After that, the app will match the 2 pictures and assign a blue check mark to the profile. CEO Dara Khosrowshahi tells ABC News it's designed to boost safety on the app amid several recent attacks on drivers.
Late night, etc., if you have a verified badge, you have an advantage over someone who might not be verified.
That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
It's a pretty big day here on the Matt Murphy Show. I mean, every day is a pretty big day on the Matt Murphy Show, but it's a pretty big day in as much as we have reached day number 200 of me growing my hair out for Donald Trump. Well, not for Donald Trump, for a new president. And I've been growing my hair out and committed to grow my hair out until we have a new president-elect. Well, one of the reasons that I'm not trying to drag PAI Medical into any political conversation, but I am telling you this, that the reason that I have the flowing locks that I have in part, is because of PAI Medical and the We Grow Hair people. Because I went to them, I did not know if what I was experiencing on the top of my head was hair thinning or hair loss or what. I always have had a cowlick up there. So I went to the folks that know, We Grow Hair people, WeGrowHair.com, and they said, you're thinning a little bit, Murphy. You're going to be good. You're better than most at the age of 50. But we want you to have the FDA-approved laser treatments to make your hair thicker and fuller and to prevent any future hair loss. And I'm doing so at We Grow Hair and PAI Medical. Wherever you are in terms of your hair loss journey, if you will, they can help you at We Grow Hair. Give them a call at 615-376-6010. Tell them I sent you. 376-6010. Just mention my name, Matt Murphy, or go to WeGrowHair.com. That's WeGrowHair.com, and I'll see you at PAI Medical. Oh, pardon me. I'm late to hour number 3 of the Matt Murphy Show. I was just telling Cameron Smith he needed to get over to PAI. I mean, I'm not casting aspersions. I'm just saying. Happens to the best of us.
Yeah.
Cameron Smith, he of the Tennessee, and you hear him often on these radio airwaves. You'll hear him on Friday as I am in for Brian Wilson and Cameron is in for me. How about that?
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. We got Senator Haggerty coming on to tell us what's next for conservatives, win, lose, or draw in the election.
Mm-hmm. Let's hope it's win. Can we hope it's win?
Yeah, why not?
Or do you hope it's win?
Yeah.
I try to get that question out there because you'll be asked
Ray
on the
will
Members
ask
Nutrition.
me, do I actually, look, in the lesser
course you do.
The lesser of two evils scenario here, folks, the argument of, it's economics. It just is the economy. Why on earth would you trust Kamala Harris to lead us out? I know she's the change candidate. She's also...
Turn the page! Turn the page!
We're turning the page.
Gwen Walls, did you see that? Weirdos.
Hey.
Weirdos calling us weirdos.
You know this. I'm not happy about my choices. I've told you that it's 1990s Democratic versus whatever the heck this is in 2024. I mean, the left has lost it. And yikes. But,
look, and many folks come at me going, why don't you argue with Cameron more about how awesome Trump is? And here's where I'm at, okay? If you think Trump is awesome, I do. I don't mind the personality stuff, whatever, then you're all in anyway.
Yeah.
We need to win people over who might be meh on Trump or kind of don't like his personality that much. And I think Trump's own words in Pennsylvania do more to win them over in as much as he has said, if you don't like me, that's fine. If you can't stand me, that's fine. But if you live in Pennsylvania, you got to vote for me because she's going to destroy your economy.
Yeah.
She's on record as saying things that would destroy the economy of Pennsylvania. You got to vote for me.
Well, she currently hasn't had any answers to the most important issues that voters are saying matter to them. And then when you ask her in these interviews, we've seen them lately. Wow. The responses are word salad. Let's be honest about what it is. And so I see that. It doesn't mean you have to be happy about it, but you look at it and say, given the two choices on the ballot, meh.
I'm having, and maybe I'm real close to the forest, and so I need to back up to look at the trees. I'm having a difficult time understanding in some of these states where their economies depend on energy sectors, how it's so close. And maybe that's personality, maybe it's mispolling. I mean, we experienced some of this in 2016, to a lesser degree in 2020, but the polls were a little bit off in 2020. Do you think in the modern era, the last, let's say, 12 years, that we have come to lean on polls to drive narratives or to drive conversations within media circles?
Yeah, of course. I mean, we just talk about them. We look at them and then we say, okay, well, it's trending.
Well, what does this mean?
Right? It's kind of boring. I don't really enjoy it anymore. I mean, the only shocker in all of the polling things that I've seen is the reinvention of Kamala Harris. How in a few short months, she's gone from a net 14 negative approval rating to a positive one. After 2 years of being like very negative, like you're terrible, boom, overnight, you're great.
It's one of the reasons that I have as topic number one for our conversation today, the mainstream media and how I believe, they love to remind us, and I'm talking, the ABC, CBS, NBCs of the world, the legacy people, non-Fox. They love to remind us, even in the face of 2 now assassination attempts against the former president, that he is a threat to America. He's a threat to American democracy. They never tell you how, except this, nebulous idea that he will not leave, even though he did leave.
Right.
So this time he won't leave.
This time it's different because why?
Y'all think about the argument for a moment. The argument is he's a threat to democracy because he's an authoritarian and he wants to be a dictator.
Sure.
But he left. Well, but he didn't want to. Yeah, but he did. Yeah, but he won't this time. Well, then why did he last time? I mean, it does not make any sense.
Well, this is, at its core, political hyperbole, right? Which is what they accuse Trump of doing. It's
sure
you're exaggerating, you're lying, you're doing all these things. Well,
what about you?
What about you?
Well, but there's only and that is my point. Is that yes? Does Trump engage in that level of hyperbole? Sure. Does it lead to people almost losing their lives? Not to my knowledge. Yet on the other side, I could make an argument that the rantings and ravings of the political left have given fuel to raving lunatics believing that they should take him out.
So I agree with you in the sense that we've got loonies everywhere, but
Yeah.
I don't think the issue is, well, the left's rhetoric is special. I mean, the right has its own rhetoric. Political rhetoric, and you and I think, agree on this, that the answer to speech you don't like is more speech. If you don't like
Agreed.
that hyperbole and things, be louder with the truth. Like, that's fine. This whole shooting people thing, like political candidates trying to assassinate someone, most of us know we shouldn't pick up a gun and go shoot somebody because we disagree with their politics. That's just something in our culture that we've convinced ourselves, probably in our digital silos, that, oh my goodness, we have to take this guy out. I mean, I can disagree with Kamala Harris all I want and talk about how she's terrible, but that doesn't mean she needs to die.
I agree with you that we should not demand that the left, stop using words like threat.
Right.
As an example. Or even that we demand that particular media outlets stop saying things like Donald Trump's a threat to democracy. I just want a level of consistency with what they're doing. They simultaneously say that their language has no impact across the United States of America, and then without taking a breath tell us that people in Springfield are being threatened and under threat of death because Donald Trump said something about somebody eating cats.
Yeah, we have an extremely low level of political accountability across the board right now, where Democrats, because they have a lot of the legacy media, they have the benefit of being like, well, this is the mainstream narrative, and therefore we don't need to apologize when we're wrong. And wait a minute, I don't think that's how this works. And if they want to criticize Trump and say, well, he doesn't apologize, he'd tell you that. He just moves forward. Okay, fine. But they do the same thing. We all need to say, hey, when we mess up, and we acknowledge it and move forward. That's not happening at all. And I think that lets people just say, well, see, it's evil.
But I just get sick and tired of being lectured by these media outlets. And maybe it's just because I know that it's performative, right? They lecture us about protecting democracy and the threat to democracy. The manner in which they're reporting the news is more of a threat to our democracy, in the sense that I don't think they know they're not being fair. They know that there are times they're not being accurate, yet they do it in that fashion anyway. And it creates, it undermines our faith in our institutions.
Yeah. And the idea should be, look at if you want to see the threats to our republic, look at the civil liberties that are being impinged. And you know what? The left right now is super cool with restraining speech. Super cool with, this is speech we can't allow. We just had Gavin Newsom pop out and say, hey, we have a law in California now where you can't project any image that's been manipulated by AI that's false or that. I'm like,
I'm looking at it right now. I've got the story pulled up right now.
I mean, come on, dude. That's not constitutional. Like, and if you're saying we need command and control, that's how we fix things is by government controlling the narrative. You don't understand America very well.
Well, and I'm going to pull up as soon as I get it going here. I've got a great Martha Raddatz clip for you too, by the way. Martha Raddatz actually doing journalism over at ABC. But Hillary Clinton, the day after Donald Trump, the second assassination attempt occurred against Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton was on the Rachel Maddow show. I mispronounced it earlier. My bad. And in addition to saying that Trump was a threat to democracy and all of these things, Hillary had a few things to say about the subject matter that we're talking about what to do to those who are engaging in propaganda. Here's what she said.
Just as Mueller indicted a lot of Russians who were engaged in direct election interference and boosting Trump back in 2016. But I also think there are Americans who are engaged in this kind of propaganda. And whether they should be civilly or even in some cases criminally charged is something that would be a better deterrence because.
All right. So she's not suggesting, she's saying, hey, we need to start talking about putting people on criminal notice if they engage in, quote, propaganda. Well, if that's the government doing it, it's also the government determining what's propaganda and what's not propaganda, right?
Yeah, the Supreme Court's very clear on this point that when it comes to political speech, the word they use is the First Amendment's protections are at their zenith. So that when you're talking about a political issue, the ability of government to come in and regulate that space is very tightly controlled.
It is, and here's where I would go with it. And you tell me if I'm wrong. So long as I am not putting anyone in a direct harm of physical violence or actual harm. I mean, and obviously there are carve-outs for those types of situations. The whole fire in a crowded theater.
Threats, things like that. Yes.
Absent that, I get to lie.
Yeah.
Like in America, if I want to spew lies and misinformation, it is not the government's job to determine who's lying and who's not. And we're going to shut these people up that we decide are lying. Because I promise you, if you give the government that power, they're going to decide eventually, somewhere down the road, that everybody that's talking bad about the government is spreading misinformation. And that leads to a totalitarian state.
Yeah. And that's a hard thing to defend, right? Because nobody wants to defend lies.
Right.
But it's the free expression that's so important that because people can say all sorts of things. You could have somebody from Alabama say, well, all Nashvillians have low IQs and they're predators, right? You could just say that, right? Well, that's not true. It's demonstrably false. But if the government gets in that game, then whoever controls the government controls the conversation, and we cannot allow that.
I mean, I'll give you another example. Everyone knows that the Alabama Crimson Tide's going to whoop up on the Georgia Bulldogs two Saturdays from now.
Put it back. Take that rat poison and...
See, you're negative about your team, man, I have to say.
See how Cameron Smith combats bad speech?
You should regulate it.
With more speech.
Yeah. Well, we have to respect the liberties of people we disagree with. The left isn't doing that, and sometimes the right doesn't. Sometimes the right's like, oh, no, we don't like the way you criticize us. That you got to get a tougher hide. Like, get over it. Be a little more resilient. Right. The moment that you're like, I'm going to go use the government and I'm going to fix this. I don't like the way you're talking. And I like anti-slap laws where basically you go after a politician sues you trying to get you to shut up. It happened to me in Alabama. Like, that you can get rid of those cases because the moment that happens, you're in trouble.
When politicians see dictators accomplishing certain things around the globe, they have a taste for it. And, I think some politicians in America are looking at what's happening in the UK, and they want some of that. They would not say it openly, but they'll say it in the way that Hillary has said it. Oh, that we need to stop these lies. Because nobody likes a liar, right? And so that's an easy place to start. well, if you're lying openly on social media, you're deceiving people, yada, yada, yada. It is not the government's job to intercede in those dynamics and to declare that the person that's lying has to stop speaking, because that is ultimately going to criminalize speech.
Yeah, try this on for size. They say Donald Trump, he wants to be an authoritarian on day one. You want to know the truth? They all do. They all do, because if they like power. You've seen what Joe Biden did. Joe Biden couldn't string sentences together. And he was like, but the power. I'm going to be a bridge. Yeah, right. I'm going to shut down that bridge. It wasn't until they yanked him that he never realized, I don't want to have this power. It's, I want to be in charge. Politicians love power. They all do. And at the moment you think there's a politician that doesn't kind of want to be an authoritarian, that's why we have to hold them accountable. That's why we have a constitution. That's why we have to sue to strike down government regulations that infringe on civil liberties.
All right, we'll continue the conversation moments from now with Cameron Smith. If you want to join in, 615-737-9986, 615-737-9986, either via phone or the membersnutrition.com super text line. We will turn the conversation to events happening overseas, specifically Israel, more specifically their CIA, which is known as the Mossad, apparently responsible for a number of counterterrorism attacks against a terrorist organization. We'll get Cameron's thoughts on that in a moment on Super Talk. Hello, friends. Matt Murphy for Efficient Heating and Cooling. The cool weather is coming. I understand that it's not quite here yet, and we will have temperatures perhaps approaching 90 degrees before we reach true fall. And when that happens, the crisp mornings will occur. And before you know it, you'll be turning on that heater. And what will you smell when you do? Well, if you get if you get Jeff Eddy and Efficient Heating and Cooling out with you, you'll find that your mornings are crisp, cool, but your indoors nice and toasty warm without the smell of a system firing up for the first time in the year. You need to get the heater maintenance in your home, and Jeff Eddy and Efficient Heating and Cooling will do just that. It can be hard to find someone that you trust, and I trust that Jeff Eddy will treat you right. He's not going to tell you you need to make a repair that you don't need to make, and he will never, ever tell you that you need to replace your unit unless it is absolutely necessary. And when you do, they have free financing available for you. Ask them about that, and they're an elite pro partner with Rheem. Go to efficienthvac.net for more information. That's efficienthvac.net, or call 615-784-4424 for Efficient.
The Guaranteed Offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
Hezbollah under attack in Lebanon. Again, Fed rate cut and interesting election 2024 update just coming in. An announcement from the nation's largest and most diverse union. We'll tell you about it at 2:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I don't know about you guys, but that sounded like a professional radio tease right there from Ken Weaver over in the newsroom. He's going to deliver the good. I am too. He's going to deliver the goods in about 3 minutes or so, a little over 3 minutes on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Speaking of delivering the goods, can I give a, we smack the mainstream media around, and rightly so, because they deserve it. I think we ought to, if we are, trying to be intellectually honest, we ought to give some credit. We ought to encourage good behavior, right?
Yes.
Much like your young kids or your pets. You reward good behavior and you punish bad behavior. And I got to tell you, over the weekend, Martha Raddatz, did you see this exchange that she had with Governor Maura Healey of Massachusetts? It was pretty good. I think it's worth a listen. Here's Martha Raddatz fact-checking Kamala Harris from the last debate to a Democrat sycophant, Maura Healey, who was on as a representative of the Harris campaign.
Vice President Harris did not make clear whether she supports any restrictions on abortion. Currently, 9 states and the District of Columbia have no gestational ban on abortions. Her comments about the military. She said during the debate this about the U.S. military. Let's listen.
As of today, there is not one member of the United States military who is in active duty in a combat zone in any war zone around the world, the first time this century.
Our fact checkers found that to be false, and I have a lot of experience in that area as well. There are currently 900 U.S. military personnel in Syria, 2,500 U.S. troops in Iraq. All have been under regular threat from drones and missiles for months. We also have action in the Red Sea. We also, every single day, the Navy SEALs, Delta Forces, special operators can be part of any sort of deadly raid. So why would she make that claim?
All right, before you hear the answer, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good newsing right there, okay? Right? She's like, all right, if my cohorts, and this is with ABC News, so she's kind of cleaning up after David Muir and saying, she made a claim that simply wasn't true. Listen to why would she make that claim? Here's the answer.
Well, I think what's important here, Martha, is that Kamala Harris, in contrast to Donald Trump, demonstrated herself to be commander-in-chief. We are in a world where there are all sorts of conflicts, and it's all the more reason we need somebody who's serious and who supports the military. And just remember,
but Governor,
and all right, so that was the answer, and good for Martha Raddatz. She's like, what?
Military. And just remember.
But Governor, excuse me, but she said there is not one member of the United States military who is in active duty in a combat zone. That is not true. You say she demonstrated her ability to be commander in chief, but did she not know about these people in Syria and Iraq? Why?
I mean, this is pretty good.
Would she say that?
Look, that was a comment. That was a comment in a debate. I think the point that she was trying to make was a broader point. And of course we have military in place all around this country. That's important.
Wait, so the answer is, well, of course we have military in place all around. And she said country. Right. She meant globe.
She meant globe, yeah.
Right. Of course we have military. But that's not what Kamala Harris said. And so it gets a little bit better. I know we got to go to the news, but
we're the United States of America. And Kamala Harris, remember, is the person who stands with NATO, who supports our allies, who's working to bring countries together. Donald Trump stands with Vladimir Putin. So, I think that's what's really important. Kamala Harris, she respects our military. She respects our service members. Donald Trump calls them suckers and losers. And it's why Donald Trump's former military generals support Kamala Harris. They say that Donald Trump shouldn't be anywhere near the Oval Office. And I think those are the points, Martha, that people need to understand. We live
and so she...
Why don't you just open up your face and put some pie in it?
I mean, so, yeah, she... her answer to the challenge is the suckers and losers lie that has been debunked widely. Of the 19 people there, one person said that a comment like that came out of Donald Trump's mouth, and that was General Kelly, who had just been fired. So,
well, my point on a lot of this stuff is, again, you're spinning your political points. You're saying Donald Trump is bad. Donald Trump says Kamala Harris is bad. That's how political speech works. And the idea that you're not even answering the question. I mean, at some point, we got to be used to this, where politicians pivot. They don't want to answer the question. They never want to say, hey, she just got it wrong.
Well, the reason I bring it up is I'm not quite accustomed to the mainstream media actually holding Democrats' feet to the fire, which is something Martha Raddatz just did there, and good for her. 31 after the hour on Super Talk.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. We've got the full forecast in 5 minutes, and right now, an Election 2024 update. The International Brotherhood of Teamsters, one of the most prominent and influential unions in the country, says it will not endorse any presidential candidate this year. The union has historically thrown its weight around in presidential cycles and endorsed Democratic presidential candidates in recent cycles, including President Joe Biden in 2020. However, hours before today's announcement, ABC News reports the Teamsters released polling of union members showing a 2-to-1 performance for former President Trump over, or rather preference, that is, of former President Trump over Vice President Kamala Harris. Lebanese officials reporting another wave of explosions in Beirut and smaller cities, this time walkie-talkies and handheld radios exploding in the hands of Hezbollah members. Martha Raddatz reports from Tel Aviv.
Given the response that Hezbollah says they will take revenge, it's going to be harder for them. They have lost fighters, they have lost operatives, and they have lost communication. If you were, or anybody who was a member of that group, you would think they would put down all wireless devices. In fact, their leadership, those who have survived any sort of attack, are saying take the batteries out of anything you have.
Lebanon's health ministry reporting at least 9 people killed and about 300 injured today. And the Federal Reserve moves to cut interest rates. Here's Chairman Jerome Powell, who, talking about the U.S. economy, saying it remains strong.
The labor market has cooled from its formerly overheated state. Inflation has eased substantially from a peak of 7% to an estimated 2.2% as of August.
The Fed reducing the federal funds rate 0.5% to a range of 4.75% to 5%. That reduction expected to trickle down to mortgages, credit card rates, and car loans. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hello, friends. It's Matt Murphy for Tennessee Men's Clinic. Tennessee Men's Clinic provides energy-based health to the gentlemen in your lives. And if you happen to be a guy that's feeling run down, low down, and you're low energy and you don't know why, it could be a T level that you could get diagnosed through the Tennessee Men's Clinic. It could be something else as well. Have you thought about getting it checked? I would encourage you to do so. Tennessee Men's Clinic has helped thousands of men just like you. And by the way, guys, if this is happening with, your bedroom activities, and I try to be sensitive around this subject because I know that it's a sensitive subject for some guys, especially if you're experiencing this. But here's the deal, man. There's no shame in this game. Over half the men listening to me right now are going to go through this at some point in their lives. Why not get it handled? I mean, it is a, dare I say, baller move to go ahead and handle the situation, get it taken care of, and move on from it. And I promise you, your familial relations will improve as a result. Tennessee Men's Clinic is there for you, gentlemen. 2 locations. One is in Franklin and the other in Midtown. Been there since 2014. It's the Tennessee Men's Clinic. Online at TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. On the phone, 615-208-9090, 208-9090. So you up your food game by upping your spice game. You up your spice game at Savory Spice. Hey, it's Matt Murphy. Let's talk about it. Holly and David taught me this, right? And if you have someone in your life that loves to cook, enjoys their way around the kitchen, and you want to give them a wonderful gift, maybe a gift certificate, or go and ask Holly or David what you should get them from Savory Spice. There's 2 locations. One is in Nashville, Elladale Market. That's just off of Charlotte Pike. The other in Franklin, just off the square next to Gray's Pharmacy. When you walk in, you can smell the aroma, the deliciousness of the spices available to you. You can even taste of the spices for yourself. They invite you to take a sample out of one of their sample shakers, put it in your hand, give it a little taste, and just, kind of rub it off on the floor. They'll clean it up later. Don't worry about that. They have a spice for every palate, for every taste, and they have something that can up your food game. Plus, it's tailgating season, guys, and if you want to up that tailgate, those chops, that chicken, those burgers, you need to get to Savory Spice and allow them to help you. Savory Spice. Like I say, you up your food game by upping your spice game. You up your spice game at the one and only Savory Spice. Ken Weaver, KGB, Cameron Smith, and yours truly, Matt Murphy. We were just talking about this, and I want to publicly declare and thank our good friends Debbie Matthews, Jason Matthews, for inviting me. We were over at the Bluebird Cafe. I was telling you about this.
Yeah.
The Bluebird Cafe. You ever been to the Bluebird Cafe?
I have.
It's pretty. You feel like you're a part of something special.
Yeah, I'm one of the weird people that grew up here. And so Bluebird Cafe, it's been a big deal a long time.
Yeah. It ain't just Taylor Swift, guys.
Who's that?
That's exactly right. Ken Weaver might know this because I think this guy hails from Weaver territory out there in the middle of the country.
Who's this?
Garth Brooks.
Yeah.
I think Garth Brooks got a break at the Bluebird, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
But he does have friends in low places, so that makes sense.
That would make a lot. I forgot. You know who I feel bad for? Mark Chestnut.
Why is that?
He put that song on an album before Garth Brooks did.
Oh.
That's why.
Love Mark Chestnut, man.
I love Mark Chestnut. I don't feel bad for him in the sense that he's a known, he's obviously internationally known singer, but I love Mark Chestnut.
Well, in Nolensville, we still have Joe Diffie Day.
All right.
John Deere Green, man.
Yes, sir.
And letters 3 foot high.
Billy Bob loves Charlene.
The whole town said the fool should have used red,
but looked good to Charlene.
Good to Charlene.
Yeah, it did.
Ken Weaver.
Yes, sir.
Let me test my memory. Mark Chestnut. Bubba Shot the Jukebox.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Bubba Shot the Jukebox. You know the song?
I don't
that's great.
That one. I have to
Bubba Shot the Jukebox last night.
Your love is a miracle.
Made him cry. Oh, that's a good one too. The jukebox played a sad song and made him cry. He went to his truck and got his 45, and Bubba shot the jukebox.
Well, that's
you want to hear them sad songs.
That's reasonable.
Yeah, sure. No, we got to hear Leslie Satcher. It was a songwriting night at the Bluebird. It was Leslie Satcher, Jamie Tichenor, and I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly, Jamie. Jamie's a big fan of the show, and Jason Matthews singing songs that they wrote. Leslie wrote Troubadour, which was a huge hit for George Strait.
Yeah.
And so it was just a fabulous night. So thank you all for.
What's your favorite country song? Since we're briefly on the topic, I'll lay this one. What's your favorite song?
My favorite country song?
Mm-hmm.
He Stopped Loving Her Today.
Ooh, that's good. I love Long Black Veil. It's a good song. It's a good story. But mine's probably Hank Williams Jr. Dinosaur.
That one and Country Boy Can Survive.
Country Boy Can Survive.
That's good.
Had me a friend in New York City.
Travis Tritt, Great Day to Be Alive.
Oh, yes.
Never called me by my name.
We'll
just Hillbilly. We need to do an entire show on
country
best country songs. Because I think you have to separate. You have to separate the genre a little bit. You have to go to the sad road and then the upbeat, the fun.
And you got your outlaw country.
Waylon Jennings.
Yes, sir.
Waymore Blues is a great tune.
Some of the country I used to listen to, I don't think you're allowed to listen to anymore because it's just.
Go back and listen to Waylon singing Nashville Women.
Yeah, or anything by David Allan Coe. There's a lot of special country.
If it weren't for the powder and the fine-tooth comb, those Nashville women they might as well stay home.
I worked with a buddy back in my DJing days in the 80s, this little radio station outside of Tulsa, Oklahoma. And the owner took it upon himself to put little dots on songs on Hank Williams Jr. albums we weren't supposed to play.
I love it.
And the old boy that would come in at 9 to midnight, those dots would disappear from 11 to midnight.
I love it.
I think my Merle Haggard has become my new favorite country artist. And Mama Tried's great, but I just lost it because I found another song. George Jones, I think the best opening lyric to any song in country music is George Jones singing, "Has it been a year since the last time I've seen her? My God, I could swear it was 10. And the ocean of liquor I drink to forget her is going to kill me, but I'll drink till then." That is a fabulous opening lyric.
Who broke your heart, Matt?
Oh, no, that lyric. I mean, can you? I mean, just you see that, you know exactly what's going on in that guy's world.
Honestly, there is nothing better than being on a lake with good people, fried chicken, and country music playing.
Well, my 10-year-old, Hey, we call him Hey, his name's Hayden, but Hey, he loves Luke Bryan. And so he will sing One Margarita, like when no one's around.
That's awesome.
And so he's a big old bear of a kid, and he just in the shower, just cleaning up his room, whatever, he's singing about tequila. And he's 10. So, you know.
And I saw Luke Bryan on a golf course one time. Super cool dude. His son is a great golfer also.
Really?
Yeah. His son's like 10, 12, and he's
bombing it.
Bombing it, yeah.
Bomber.
Yeah.
The other one is Merle saying, I could be holding you tonight. I could.
Yes, sir.
I could stop doing wrong and start doing right.
Yeah.
You don't care about the way I think I'll just stay here and drink.
So one of the things, this is
right or wrong, Merle laid it down.
This is every bit as interesting as polling information. One of the big things in my high school, y'all are gonna freak out about this, is I think she was 3 years older than me, but the woman in the Alan Jackson Chattahoochee video.
What?
I went to high school with.
All right.
How about that?
Yeah. Married her high school
little brush
sweetheart,
with fame.
Lives in town. Like, you know, it was just, that was so cool because you see that video and, you know, she's the attractive young lady in there and dropped her off early.
You know, I don't remember a time where I wasn't necessarily attracted to women. But I remember exactly.
Now this is getting deep.
I remember exactly. I mean, you talk about music videos. I remember exactly the moment when I knew what type of woman I was attracted to.
Talking 9 to 5?
And that's when Dolly Parton. That's when Dolly Parton, best little whorehouse in Texas, was playing on Cinemax a lot. That's when Dolly Parton came down the stairs in Miss Mona's outfit. I was like, okay, then. Now I mean, I'm like 12 years old. I was like, well.
Cinemax.
Now I know.
I'm into that.
Remember the old Cinemax days, Weaver? When my grandma didn't pay the HBO Cinemax bill and it got all scrambled and I had to watch them dirty movies all scrambled.
I could hold.
You could see a booby every now and again.
If I held the changer just right between 34 and 33, the squiggly lines would straighten.
You know, somewhere.
And you wait for that moment. Oh, I think I just saw somebody's booby.
There are thousands and thousands of people listening right now that know exactly what we're talking about. And they're like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah.
None.
You either are in or out.
That sounds so sad. I don't know why you would.
It was.
Yeah.
It was.
Yep.
This show was fine while it lasted. It was a good run this show had.
Y'all know exactly what I'm talking about. TV
yes.
wrote Whitesnake videos. Tawny Katan on top of that.
Yes.
Holy Nikes.
At some point, they're going to bring back those like ripped up jeans like that and the like shoulder pad jean jackets with the studs in them. And I'm here for that.
I had ripped jeans for the longest time, too.
No, not you.
I'm wearing them. I'm wearing them to spite you now.
No, that's not what I'm talking about. Not you.
4210 said Conway Twitty will make you feel some things. That's true.
Family Guy made that better.
By the way, Weaver's a little older, not a lot older, but a little older, and maybe it's the wrong question to ask. I don't understand how Conway Twitty got away with some of the songs he did in the 1970s.
Oh, yeah, man.
I'd love to lay you down.
I'd love to lay you down.
Wasn't one of his songs like him having an affair with a married woman?
Well, yeah, that's Tight Fitting Jeans.
Tight Fitting Jeans.
But
something about a tiger in my pants, too.
Right.
I mean,
or you've never been this far before?
Yes, Conway Twitty, man.
I can tell you've never been this far before. Oh, don't.
But if you can sing, you can say whatever you want.
That's right.
I've heard of that.
One thing I love about Conway, he never changed his hairdo.
That's strong.
His hair stayed the same.
The best line, Conway Twitty. This is much more fun than talking politics, by the way. Thank you for bringing it up. Conway Twitty and Loretta Lynn did a song called You're the Reason Our Kids Are Ugly.
Yeah.
And there's a line at the end of that song that I think Loretta Lynn ad-libbed. And Conway Twitty loses it. Right at the end as it's fading out, because they're pretending to be a married couple and they're fighting and you're the reason our kids are ugly, little darling, but looks ain't everything. And at the end, he says, well, all our kids took after your side of the family. And she says, oh, they did they? What about the ones that are bald? And you hear Conway laugh, and he goes, well, I guess they took after me. Because, Conway had a piece.
Right. Have you been to the Johnny Cash Museum?
I've not. You know what? I've not.
I'll tell you. Justine, my wife, took me to that for my birthday, I guess my 40th or something, and it was so neat to see his writing and all that other stuff. I mean, if you haven't done that, you should, because I love Johnny Cash.
Absolutely.
Hurt is one of my favorite songs of all time.
Oh, yeah.
I know it's a cover, but it still hits you hard.
When you're Johnny Cash and you cover 9 Inch Nails,
yeah,
you're doing something.
And 9 Inch Nails says that's your song now.
Yeah, Trent, what's his name? Trent Reznor. Said, no, that's Johnny's now.
Yeah.
That's the ultimate the guy that wrote the songs, and that's yours now.
Yeah.
Because it was better.
Incredible.
Oh, it was so good.
Well, thank you for indulging us for just a moment or two as we talked about country music and away from politics. Any other thought on country music or politics before we say goodbye?
No, man. I love it. If you got it, we'll talk about it on Friday. We'll bring it up. I love it.
I love the idea, too. I might do a little bit of that on Friday. Cameron's in for me on Friday, and Mr. Wilson, whom we'll talk to in just a moment. Brian Wilson is out on Friday, and I'll be in for Brian from 3 until 7. But we'll talk to him about what happens today on the Drive with Brian Wilson right after this on Super Talk.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionality, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
The show veered off the rails right at the end there, talking about country music, but in a good way, in my opinion. I appreciate you indulging us. It's 58 after the hour. Let's find out what's happening with the drive. And Brian Wilson, as he joins us to preview everything going on between 3 and 7. Hello, Brian Wilson.
Hey, it's good to hear your voice, and thank you for sitting in for me on Friday. Greatly appreciated. I'm going to start today with a gem that I found. I mean, you're not going to believe. The other day, Kamala Harris is before the National Association of Black Broadcasters, Black Journalists, NABJ, and she's asked about the Second Amendment. She says, I have a gun, and we're not going to take your guns away. And then she spent about 3 minutes telling you how she's going to take your guns away. And so, she keeps saying that she's not coming after our guns, but listen to this little soundbite that comes from 2007 when she was the district attorney in California, or the state attorney.
Responsible behaviors among everybody in the community, and just because you legally possess a gun in the sanctity of your locked home doesn't mean that we're not going to walk into that home and check to see if you're being responsible and safe in the way you conduct your affairs.
She says she's going to walk into people's homes and check on their weapons. But don't worry. She's not at all interested in gun control, except that she is.
Hey, when the government tells you you're allowed to keep them, you'll be allowed to keep them, right, Brian?
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
I would like for her to come knock on my door.
One of these days,
very interesting conversation.
One of these days, they're going to make a movie about this Israeli thing that's going on.
What a weird deal. I mean, again, another day and a whole different line of communication equipment exploding and killing people. It's quite a story.
Brian Wilson coming up in mere seconds. He'll talk about the presidential contest and, of course, Kamala Harris in front of the National Association of Black Journalists there. As he just mentioned, we'll be back tomorrow at high noon. Ken Weaver's up next with the news and the drive after that from 3 until 7 o'clock. Until tomorrow, have a great afternoon, folks. Hug your loved ones from Cameron Smith, Ken, KGB. Have a great day, folks. So long, everybody.